Hi. Um, I am at the end of the row that I had started yesterday, and I wanted to show a close-up because my cousin gave me some feedback, and said she wished she had a close-up of after I weave. So I'm going to give a close-up before I weave, and then I'll hopefully remember to give a close-up after I weave. But here's a close-up of the area where I'll be weaving. So I'm doing essentially the same techniques as I have explained before. So again, I'm going to share a story of a hero that in his quest, he wore two robes. So this is an additional story about wearing two robes in our cultural use of the robes. Thank you. So I've woven to this area and dropped everything. And now I know that because this is the further back weaving weft there, I would pick that up. That's my next yarn to pick up. So yesterday I told a story about the reluctant bride. And if you want to find that and read the whole story, because my story was really a Reader's Digest, which I think even Swanton got Reader's Digest stories, because in our culture, our clans own our oral histories, our stories. They're the property of the clans. And so when Swanton came along okay, I'm changing from the rigid weft to the two strand here. So I'm going to take the top blue, and I'm going to go into this pattern using one black, one blue, right? Okay, so I see that this is two black. And I'll go a little bit of, I'll do the two blues, and then I'm going to go back and just get these. So this blue will connect with the other black. So then I went over 4 here, so I will go over 2 here. I also want to collect the blue tail of this vertical braid. And then 2 black and 2 black. And again, the reason why, 2 black, and then I'm coming back in, because I know that once there's 2 black, then the direction changes. So I'm going to go over 2 black and then over 4. So the pattern has changed directions. Okay, so anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about how our clans own, that's the clan ownership. They own their stories, their ancestral stories. So what was taken down with Swanton, when the elders were sharing those stories, they either shared their own stories, or they were sharing another clan story. And if they were sharing another clan story, it wouldn't be right to tell all the story, right? They would tell as much as they feel that, okay. Yeah, so anyway, it's intellectual property. and there needs to be respect for the ownership, the clan that owns those stories. Okay, so I'll just tell this story. There were 10 brothers, and one morning, out of the horizon, they saw the cow people, the cloud people, and they came down, and they gave a dare. They came down to wrestle. So the 10 brothers went forward one at a time to wrestle with the cloud people. So the first brother goes out. He's the strongest. And he goes up to the cloud people and wrestles. Well, actually, the cloud people takes him away. They overcome him and they take him away in the story. And then they talk about the cloud people bring them to the house, their home, up in the clouds, I imagine. But in the corner of the cloud people's home was a rock that stuck out from the corner. And every time the cloud people won the wrestling, they threw the brother into the corner, and he got injured by that rock that stuck out in the corner. Okay, wait. Let's go back here. I'm getting excited about my story, so I'm not doing what I should be doing. Okay, so those two have woven as far as I want it to go. Now I'm going to go back here and pick up these two that I left behind. Okay, so anyway, all 10 of those, well, all 9 of these brothers go, and they're not successful. They get taken up to the cloud people's house. They get thrown against the rock in the corner, and they're not doing that great. They're gone. And so the last brother says, well, okay, I'm going to go and wrestle them. Except for he saw that his brothers had, who were stronger than him, had lost and were taken away to someplace. They'd taken away to the cloud people's abode. So, so before he goes out to rescue or goes out to wrestle the cloud people, he wants to make sure that he's strong. So one of the ancient ways that the Haida people would strengthen themselves would be to go to the water and step into the water. And around here, the water is pretty cold all year round. And so that's how an ancient way of strengthening. So this young fellow went to a local river here in Haida Gwaii and went to be strengthened by the cold water and the pull of the tides and the river currents. Anyway, so a man comes down and he says, "You're not that strong. You wrestle with me." So the older man, wrestled with him, and they did this quite a lot. And finally, the young fellow overcame the old man. And then the old man said, "You're ready. You go, and you go to your home. Your mother has something for you." So he goes home. Okay, now both of these are together here. And so this black is going to go over, the blue and to the back. And then this next one is going to go again over the blue and to the back. Now we have the two blue weavers here, and to secure those blacks to the back, give it a 1 or 2 twists, and then collect the blue here. And then you'll do a knot off to the side here. Excuse me. Okay, so when you do this knot, you're going to twist, twist, and then make a loop and pull the legs through that loop, and then pinch that knot, and then pull on those yarns, and it will slide the knot close to the edge of your weaving. So there you go. And this is longer than it needs to be, so I'll trim it. Okay, so there's that the tie off. So I took and handled them as if I was creating 2 rows, which I essentially was, and then finished 1 row, it waited for its partners, and then another row, and then we tied off. And that's essentially the raven's tail. That's why we have the fringe on this side, because it's integral to the robe, where the fringe that I add on the other side, that is an added fringe, just so that we have balance to the robe. Okay, so we are going to go back to the beginning and finish, or start a row. But I do want to finish my story. Okay, so he gets strong enough, and the man that was wrestling with him says, you're ready. Go to your mother. She has something for you. So he goes down the river, and he walks into his house. Excuse me, I'm getting yarn for my next row while I'm talking out of screen. Okay, so he goes to his house, and he walks in his house, and he says, Mother, do you have something for me? And she was weaving. She was inside the house weaving near the wall, and she said yes. She says, so she pulls out a box, and in the box is 2 raven's tail robes. Well, I assume they're raven's tail robes. They're called sky robes, and I've listened to enough stories to know that these sky robes probably were mountain goat wool robes, very soft with geometric patterns. But anyway, so she pulls out these robes, these 2 robes, and she said, when you were in my womb, I had somebody make these for you. So we get the idea that the robes were something that was precious that you had to earn. So this man had earned, by strengthening himself, he had earned his robes. And so he goes to his, so he goes through a series of adventures. He goes through a series of adventures. So you make sure that your yarn is even. And he eventually does rescue his brothers. He wins the wrestling matches. He rescues his brothers. There's a lot of adventures, and the story is actually quite long. But I'm Reader Digest story. So he rescues his brothers, and okay, let me show you a Lark's Head entry there. So you have a length of yarn that you've pre-measured, and you divide it in half. You take the loop end of it, and you put it behind the side cords. I don't know if you can see that. So you're putting it behind the side cords, and then you take the legs and you put them through the loop, and then you have the lark's head, what they call a lark's head. Okay, so while we're close up here, I'll enter the blue. Now these blues are yarns that I may want to use later, so I'm just going to keep them around. So I'll include them in my stitches. So I do the side cords, never breaking those side cords. So the hero has many adventures. He loses his sky robes in some instances. He marries the daughter of the ruler of the sea, but she leaves him, or he leaves her. But anyway, it's quite a long adventure. But he does rescue his brothers. And at the end, it is said that with those two sky robes, he puts one over the shoulders of his sister, and he sits her on the mainland. And then it doesn't actually say he gives his mother one, but he does mention that one was given to his sister, and she went to the mainland. So now I want to enter the black yarn. So I again divide it in half, and there. So at the end, he goes back to his home, it is said. And he's wearing what they call a dancing robe, a dancing blanket. So it's not the sky blanket, it's a dancing blanket. And he dances. He runs along bent over, and when he's stooped over when he runs along, and then he comes up in his full height. And when he does that, he transforms into a bird. So I accidentally took two of those. I only want one of the blues, because so he transforms when he's dancing and wearing the dancing, what they call the dancing robe. So there's the two sky robes that his mother had given him after he earned it. And then at the end, he has a dancing robe, which has a transformation power. So I really like this story because of the fact that there is the two robes that are used, the sky robe and the dancing robe. And I love that there's this transformation involved in wearing a robe and in dancing. The power of song and dance is alluded to here. So I really like that story. Okay, so that's a real Reader's Digest story, and you'll have to go to the Skidegate dialect. I believe that's where the story is. But if you want more details on where you can find these stories, just give me a comment, and I will give you exactly what book and what page. And so if you're really interested in a fuller story that Swanton has taken down, because these are stories that came from Swanton. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Bye.